Have you ever experienced a God wink? You know, the kind of experience you know without a shadow of a doubt that God stepped in and gave you a big old wink from heaven. I'm your host, Cindy Spar, broadcasting from Office Evolution in Troy, Michigan. I am the founder of My Collective Network and My Christian Business Network, two amazing business networking organizations. I am a firm believer that there is power in sharing God wink stories. Think of it as a way for people to shine their light on Jesus, one wink at a time. In Matthew 5:14, it says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Hello, listeners. Welcome to the God Wink podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Spar, and I am sitting across from such a vibrant woman that I recently was introduced to at a networking event. And I'd like her to share just a little bit about herself and really dive into her own little miracle in just a moment. So, Annika, welcome to the God Wink podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you invited me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. You know, tell our listeners just a little bit about you. Who are you?
Yes, who am I? I'm Annika Ostberg, and I'm born and raised in Sweden from my wonderful parents, Ingegerd and Mats. Really hard to pronounce in English.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
But then since I met my husband, we have been traveling a lot, and I have lived in different countries. And now we live here since 2019 in the area of Detroit.
Oh, my gosh. So you travel the world and you come to Detroit.
Yes.
That's something to talk about.
It's still the automobile center.
Yeah, true, true. What are some other countries you've...
It has been back and forth to Germany and Sweden and the States.
Okay, so be honest. What's your favorite country?
I have got that question a lot of times, and I say, like my children say, if I could, I would pick the good stuff from each country, because each place have good things and bad things, and there is things to like and dislike everywhere.
That's
but if
true.
we could pick the best ones, that would be a dream place.
I always feel like it's more relaxed in other countries other than ours. Like ours is busy, but maybe it's because we create that, right?
And it depends on where you go.
True, true.
You can find a paradise everywhere.
Yeah. See, look, you find the positive in anywhere you're at, right?
Yeah, I try to, and that has really been my focus from the beginning, because I can tend to be quite negative and low and down, and we have to find ways to lift us up and to find small good things in life, and that makes us grateful and happy and joyful, and add a little dance every day. It helps.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't help but think of our own little God wink on how we met. So I'm going to share with the listeners a little bit of that background.
Yes, please.
So recently I was at a networking event happening in Birmingham, thanks to Belinda Yaks. She does such a great job in bringing ladies together once a month over there in Birmingham at Shift Kitchen. And if I remember correctly, so I walk in, I'm mingling, and we cross paths. And I that day was getting prepared in my own personal life because I knew I was going to be having surgery on my female parts, people. Okay, so I was nervous about it, but I had been struggling since November, not nearly as long as what you went through for pretty much your whole life. But I was like the lady in the Bible with the issue of blood. And I felt like I was giving birth to a small child with such heavy bleeding since November. And guys, when we met, it was crazy because she specifically went through in her life endometriosis challenges and fertility challenges along the way. But she, because the glass is half full in her life, decided, you know what, let's take something, right, that it was challenging and it's kind of like you felt like you didn't have your own community and people kind of acted different, making it even worse sometimes, to where you said, you know what, I'm going to give back and publish a book that's going to help women going through this, right?
Yes, and I think life is full of miracles, and that's why we met. A lot of things are meant to be, and I start to go with that flow and enjoy the ride. And I'm so grateful, and I know I got goosebumps when you were telling me that, we met just before your big surgery, and I'm so glad we did, and that I could share my journey. And I must say it took a couple of years to create the courage to write this book, because I leave a lot from myself, or I share a lot of my life and what I've been through. But when I was there, I felt so lonely, shameful, bad, not worthy. And I don't want any other woman to be like that. And my hope is that somebody can find this book and get that hand to hold on to and feel that I am not alone, and get tools to find your way to a better life. Because women issues with heavy bleeding, endometriosis, and IVF, it's hardcore stuff, and we need to open up more about it and to support half of the Earth's population that are women even more, because all of us have it for half of our life, and some has it really bad, and 80% of the women have some kind of issues every month, 12 times a year, every year, for so long. So it would be good if we could get some more support and to find more solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking, as I was reading through, you talked about being a warrior. And I was actually, you're going to find this as a wink. Last week, I think, I was at the thrift store, and I found this tank top. And yes, I am talking about the thrift store right now. I went to the thrift store, and it had a warrior right across the top, like the front of this tank top. And I was like, sold for $2.50.
God, that's amazing.
But I was like, we are warriors, right? We're really, God created us to do amazing things, right? And so he didn't just want us to sit in sadness and pity ourselves. He's like, you have the strength. Get back up, right? Are you going to sit in your situation, or are you going to do something about it? And that, in your introductory piece of your book, really resonated with me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think we all are warriors. We don't have to do that much. We think that has to be somebody that is very powerful and with a lot of energy. But you don't have to do that much to be a warrior. And we have to give us so much more self-love and self-compassion, because we have beautiful bodies and they are working so well. Most of the parts, we all have our issues, but to look at the parts that are really working well and to be really joyful and grateful for that helps us to lift our lives and to be more in that bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, if you guys are looking, if you were in here right now looking at her front cover, okay, first off, it says Shared Heartbeats, okay, is the title of the book. But right below it, it says Miracle. But it's not spelled the traditional way of miracle. Tell us how that's spelled.
That's the Swedish spelling, and that is a painting I painted after my 3rd week in hospital. I must say I got blessed being pregnant, and not with 1 child, with 2. And this was the third time I was in the hospital with a full week of heavy bleedings, and doctors told me, pray to God or cross your fingers, whatever you believe in, it's out of our hands. And my warrior babies, they choose to stay. And when I came home, I painted that painting, and they are miracles because they were fighters already in my belly. And I was really scared. That was week 20. If they could have survived one more week, they could have been okay. But they decided to stay much longer. They stayed till only 1 month earlier. And that's quite normal for twins. And they were over the curve. So they were big twins, equal big, and they were healthy, and they were thriving from the beginning. I got preeclampsia with HELLP syndrome and almost passed giving birth, but somehow we found a way, and we are here still today. And now they are 16 years old, and they have taught me so much, and they are my biggest blessing.
And what were their names again?
Emilia and Emil.
Oh, okay. How was that then calling? Emil.
You say it a little bit different in Swedish, but many say like, oh, how do you? Yeah, but yeah, it's.
You ever confuse them?
Yeah, and because we were quite late. Everybody got kids, and we did not. That was a big trauma. And then all the names, like what we liked, were taken. And then you have some names that you like, and my husband dislike, and different around. But we found Emilia and Emil, and they have 2 other names too that comes from our families.
Oh,
But
I love that.
we chose to give them names that my husband and I chose.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, ours are Jacob and Joshua, and sometimes I mix them up, and they're like, "Oh, who are you trying to talk to?" I'm like, "Stop." You both start with J's.
Yeah, but it's not just us. Then I think it's a lot of people. They give their kids a similar name or like.
Oh, yeah. So how are the kids through all of this? Like, did they even have challenges medically?
Yes, we have to do a lot of checkups when they were little, but they were fine. When they were 3 years old, they were equal to every other children, even if they were premature born. And then everything went on good, but we had some challenges, and we found out in lower school that they had dyslexia and some ND trouble. So one has a lot of energy and makes sounds, and the other one wants it quiet and no movements, so a bit like yin and yang.
Yeah.
So that has also really given me a lot of challenges, a very little sleep in the beginning. Like not just the first year, like 6, 7, 8, really tricky. And then I had issues myself, and I had done with the C-section 5 big surgeries the 10 first year of my children. So it was a lot of challenges, but now they are 16 and I have started to heal myself, and we are on the other side, and now was the right time to share my journey to hopefully help other women and couples and families to understand how this journey can be. And there is so much emotions and ups and downs, and it doesn't help with a lot of hormones either. So
No.
yeah.
And I love the fact, though, that too, you talk about families being able to get a better understanding, because they don't necessarily mean harm, right? They love their wife, or a daughter, or whoever it may be. And I remember you saying, like, people would ask kind of the same questions, and some get quiet and they just don't know what to say. But kind of going through this and reading what it's like and how you can have conversations with people or support people versus kind of feeling like, I don't know what to do. I just know she's always had this. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. It was really hard sometimes. And it's so easy to pull the guilt and blame, and that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and why is my body working this bad? Instead of seeing that, what can I change to help my body feel better, be better, and thrive? And we need a whole community. It's like with children. It takes a village. And sometimes it's really hard when people don't understand. But the more we talk about it, the easier it gets. But when it comes to women issues, it's still so much shame, and you don't talk about it. And that is really sad. So I hope we can really open up, because that should be celebrating. When a woman works as she's supposed to, she has menstruation every month. And that is the way how it should be. But it should not be that painful and with so much struggles that you have to stay home from school or work. And there is solutions. Our body is a miracle. We can heal. And there is so many different ways to support our bodies. And we just have to find what suits ourselves the best. So I tried a lot. And I describe a lot of them in my book. And maybe that is just like I said, that's a Swedish word, smörgåsbord. And to see if you can find anything that works for you, I'm very happy. And maybe it gives you an idea to find something new, because life goes on. There is always more things coming up and popping up. And if you can get a wonderful life with less pain and more self-love, that would be a dream world.
Yeah. I personally remember, too, even, when it all started for me in this past November, I told my husband, I said, I can't even go anywhere. And I said, it's more or less I can't control, because of the heaviness, right? And so I remember coming once actually here to Office Evolution. It was right before that surgery was going to happen. And I was sitting with a gentleman, someone I'd met through business networking. And I didn't know any different until I got up and my chair was covered in blood. And I was morbid. I was just so embarrassed. And he looked down and I knew he saw it. I knew. I was just like, I'm so sorry. And I literally turned the chair around really quick. It was on a swivel type of chair. And that was the first time where there was nothing I could do. I'd never had it to where someone just saw it all. And he's a Christian guy. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm, kind of like the woman in the Bible with the issue of blood. And he was like, no, you're fine. You're fine. Is there anything I can do? I'm like, I'm perfectly fine. I'm just embarrassed. So I got in the car and I called my mom. And I was like, Mom, why would that happen? I was just like, she's like, God, you don't know what God was working on the other side, right? You don't know what he was working on that other guy. That could have humbled the guy. That could have, just, made him sensitive to the situation. So she was just like, it is what it is. And you just move past it. And what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
But
we have to find that just in that moment, there is so much emotions. And if we can go beyond that right there and then and see that, okay, this is maybe for another purpose. But when you have a lot of heavy bleedings and all this pain, it's hard to see that. And I have been through what you say plenty of times and been in a restroom and trying to dry stuff, clothing in the dryer. And when you sit down and you feel like, and then you really how can I leave the room facing the people and not turning around, because people can see that you always are afraid. And it really makes a lot with you when you always have to be a step ahead and you feel prepared and have all the bags and extra clothing and pads and stuff all over.
Yeah.
It's okay, what is this? Is this
anything you
life?
open's going to have something in that glove compartment, that purse.
Yeah. It's I prefer it would be something else. Other women, they have makeup and maybe candy or whatever, and I have all this stuff all over. If you go somewhere and you pull up something from your pocket, something pops out, and that's also embarrassing. In the store, you want to grab your car key and poof, okay, hello, here we go again. But as long as we can laugh and try, it's really hard when you're in the middle of it and you feel so low and depressed and bad. But the best thing is to use humor and to laugh about it and okay, this is it. I I share this, and I hope you can feel some. Maybe it helps somebody else. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I remember I quietly went and found Colleen, and I was like, the owner here. I said, "Can you come here a second?" And she's like, "What? What happened?" Like she could just see my face, and we, went back, and I was like, I just pointed. I'm like, "I'm so sorry," and she's like, right away, she was like, "Come here," and gave me a hug. She was like, "Come here. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine." I have industrial grade seats that clean perfectly fine.
See, no trouble. But you feel so bad in that moment. But that is also exactly what we need. And just not with women issues, like a hug solves everything. Mm-hmm. And did you read about that? If we hug each other for 20 seconds, all this oxytocin, I can't say the word, but that hormone releases and we feel so much better. So let's hug more. I say I'm like Olaf. I like warm hugs. So, the guy in Frozen. But I'm very childish. And I think the more we can be with our own small inner child, the more fun we have.
Yeah. There, too, I struggled because I believed that God had the power to heal. So I was like, if I'm to be healed, you'll just heal me. Like, I won't have to have the surgery. But if you don't heal me, I am still at peace, right? I just want your guidance on what my solution is, kind of thing. And I finally had the peace to where I was just like, it's still coming. I've asked you if this is it, if this is going to be just the miracle healing, or we have doctors for a reason. They're also gifted in God, and I just was finally like, okay, it's time to do what do they call it? Uterine ablation or whatever their fancy terms are. But I'm proudly healed now. Back to my old self.
I'm so glad. That is a miracle.
Yes.
And we are both experienced miracle. I had like 5 big surgeries, and I think that we all have our stairway to heaven, mm-hmm. and love and light and peace. They just look different. Mm-hmm. So whatever you believe in what you believe, and find your stairway. Mm-hmm. So you find that love and light and peace. Right. And that makes life much easier, because I struggled for so many years. It was really hard, and it's so easy to fall down to that really black rabbit hole, and it's hard to get up. Mm-hmm. And I decided once, when I were really low and didn't find meaning in life, that I really want to come up, and I want to stay up in the light and the joy.
Yeah. It's making that decision.
And it's a daily fight.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to choose every day. Every morning I scan my body and feel how it feels, and start with giving gratitude for something I have. It could be just like, wow, I'm in a warm, nice bed. Thank you for that.
Seriously.
If we pay attention to the small things, life gets amazing.
Yes. Like, I just started the, journaling gratitude. What was this, a couple months now? And it just changes, like, your focus. It's like you're changing how your brain is used to operating and identifying the good.
Yeah. I studied a lot, everything and nothing, and neuroscience, and thoughts and feelings is my latest, and how that changes our whole being. What we think of defines who we are and what we do. And we tend to think the same thoughts like we thought yesterday. And to really start each day, and maybe end each day with something that we are grateful and happy for, really start to make changes in our lives. And if it could be that easy, why don't try to do it? So I call out to everybody, try to just think of something. And I said before, I know all about this neuroscience and how much feelings and thoughts affect our body and our organs. I used to say to my kids before they fall to sleep, think a happy thought, or something that you did this day. And if that day was a crappy day, think about something else.
Yeah.
Like that summer day on the beach, or when you were skiing, or whatever you like.
Yeah.
And keep that in your mind, because then you fall asleep and maybe dream about a wonderful day.
Right. Yeah, I have to get calming music sometimes to get me in the zone. Just time to relax, think good thoughts.
Yep. Or maybe just create the most spectacular ice cream, the flavors, the colors, and and then you fall asleep like, yay.
Well, my son, he couldn't sleep last night because he took a nap. You'd think he's a toddler, but guys, he's like 12 years old. He took a nap in the back seat on the way home from White Lake, our graduation party we went to for my nephew. And he's like, man, Mom, he's like, I've been sitting up in my bed for like an hour now. And I said, go get a book and read. And he's like, why? I'm like, because it'll make you sleepy.
Yes, it does.
And it worked. He fell asleep last night once he started reading a book.
Yeah, but I must admit, we all need naps. And that is something, even if I'm on the other side, I still struggle. I really try to find a balance between activity and rest, so I can make my whole day.
Yeah.
Somehow we get some damages and we can be sad about it, but also grateful. And this is how I can arrange my life so it works well. And if I get a little power nap after lunch, it makes a whole difference.
Oh, yeah.
So I think maybe that is what we have to go back to more. And I really think that we all benefit from not going into this hamster wheel and try to get out. And just to go out during the lunch break and sit down. It doesn't have to be a forest or a park. It can just be a bench or on the grass.
Yeah.
And to feel nature, and it makes us feel better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take a deep breath and
yeah, and it melts away the stress. I walk every day. I love it, walking outside.
yeah, me too.
So if there was one scripture in the Bible that's the Annika scripture that really resonates with you, which one is it?
I have something since I was little, and I see a lot in pictures. And I can see that river and that meadow and the tree, and that when I pass, that is the other side. So I could sit there under the tree in the meadow with the river, and I can say it in Swedish from heart, but not in English. The Lord is my shepherd. He let me rest and near the water or something.
Yeah, by still waters. You said, what is it? Rest under the tree in Psalms 23.
Okay.
That'll help me now. I was telling you listeners, I was telling Annika, I go, as soon as she started saying what the general message was of this scripture, I was like, yeah, I know it. But I can't tell you what book of the Bible it is or what chapter or what verse. But yeah, we went and Google searched it. And it was Psalm 23. Sit under the tree.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well, if there was any closing remarks that you would have for our listeners that you really want to get across to them today that may be struggling, maybe they have endometriosis, fertility challenges, issue with blood, you name it, doesn't even have to hit in those buckets, what would it be?
You are a beautiful being. Never forget that. And life is full of miracles. So see where that can be for you. And don't die curious. That is one of my motto. I want to try as much as possible, even when I'm scared, because that takes me farther, and sometimes it's not that scary as I thought. And it could be really much more fun. But life is a miracle. Believe in that, and don't die curious.
That is good. I'm definitely going to write that down. Don't die curious. So if our listeners want to connect with you, what are some ways they can connect with you?
I have a homepage, and that is my motto words too, and it's health, balance, joy. .1. But I think if we have a life with health and balance and joy, what more do we want? That's it. So yeah, that's, if you check on that webpage, there is a description a little bit more about me and what I do, and I give coaching, and if anybody wants to reach out, just do so, and if I can be of any coaching or support, I would love to. And you can find the same under Instagram, health_balance_joy.
I love that.
There I post some small things. I haven't been that much on it because I'm not so good at social media.
Hey, I love your honesty. We can't be the best at everything.
Nope. I'm more an in-person person.
And tell our listeners again the title of your book and where can they find it?
You can find it on Amazon, and it's Shared Heartbeats, Navigate Endometriosis and IVF with knowledge, perseverance, and self-love, especially self-love.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and shared heartbeats, because we all share heartbeats, that the people who live on this earth right now.
Yeah, we don't go through it alone.
No, so don't forget that. You're never alone. And if you need a hand to hold on to, check out my book.
Well, Annika, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. And thank you, too, listeners. She brought in the most beautiful flowers today right out of her garden, which I'm crossing my fingers. They're not going to be dead because I got to go put them in some water.
I hope they last. I think so. But thank you so much, Cindy, for inviting me. It was really a pleasure. And I wish you all the best for your still recovering journey. It's still a little bit to do, I guess, but
yeah,
you will get there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, thank you so much for listening in on today's podcast. If you've got a God wink story that the world needs to hear, tell me about it. We'd love to get you on the mic and hear the wonderful things that God's doing in your life that aren't just a coincidence. It's a wink. Take care, guys. I want to give a big thank you to Office Evolution Troy for providing their podcast studio for us this afternoon to record. If you have any questions or you would like to book your own time in their podcast studio, give them a call at 586-788-9966. If today's God Wink story really hit home with you, we would love to hear about it through the God Wink community on Facebook. If you know of someone that needs to hear today's God Wink story, show them some love and tag them on the God Wink podcast. You never know how a God Wink story might change their day around for the better. If you or someone you know has a God Wink story that the world needs to hear, we want to hear it. Simply click the link within the podcast notes to send in your God Wink story. Until next time, remember, God's got you. Wink, wink.